We're back.
We're right back. There you go.
We're here.
And now that we shared with everybody,
I'm
we're ready to
trying.
go. All right, George. Hey, you know, I got my Father's Day present delivered today.
I
My wife
heard. I
bought me a
heard.
John Deere tractor.
Yep. Can't go wrong with that brand.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, she's been after me about cutting. You know, I got an acre and about over half of it, I got to cut. And she says, I don't want you out there in that heat cutting with a 21-inch self-propelled mower. You got to do
Yeah.
something better. So I
Yeah.
said, yeah, all right.
Well, that means she still wants you around, so you're doing something right.
Yeah, that scares me.
But no, it's good that she got that for you because I had a older friend that passed away. Believe it or not, mowing the lawn. That's what got him.
Now you're already trying to
I-
scare me, aren't you?
Yeah, but no, he was in really good shape. Like even at his age, he'd whip some young whippersnapper's butt. I mean, he was still in really good shape, and the heat just made him have a heart attack while cutting the lawn. And it was
Yeah.
I don't know if it was self-propelled or if it was a push. I forget how bad it really was, but yeah, you gotta be careful. That heat is something.
It takes me about almost 50 minutes to do my yard. And, you know, when it's not real hot, it's not a problem. But I'll be honest with you. Yeah, this time of the year.
Oh yeah.
Man, and then don't forget, after I do that, about every 3 weeks, I do the edging, I do the trimming. And oh,
Yeah.
no. So
Yeah.
they delivered it today. I was a happy camper, man, you know. And
Well,
did you get rain today?
no, not barely anything. I got a little bit, but not nothing to talk about. But I'll tell you the thread fins are thick in the bay right now.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is a lot of thread fins
Big
and
ones or small ones?
um more big ones than anything.
Well, you know, those
Mostly
are the ones that you
tarpon.
want to, if you get them and uh, you know, freeze them
Oh yeah,
in a vacuum seal, like, you know, 10 at a time.
that's
Well,
what I
I'll tell
do.
you what, you get out there in another month or two, you got those big ones. You can
Well,
cut the tail off and cut those in
oh yeah.
half and
Well,
bottom fish with them.
well, not only that, come wintertime, when those big snook or redfish are kind of lethargic, they're not moving around, you bring a couple of bags of those and chunk a bunch of pieces out and throw that out there on the hook. You'll catch some really nice fish on that.
Now,
And I
are
do this
they on the range marker or on the flats?
on the flats, and
Really?
I'll do that the same thing. I love my vacuum sealer. The vacuum sealer keeps those eyes crystal clear. You can tell it freezes really well, and if you keep them on ice, you can take them on the boat a few times before you got to chuck them.
Well, that's what I mean. If you vacuum seal them, and that's the whole thing. You don't want to vacuum seal a whole bunch,
No,
but
no.
10 or 12 in a bag.
10's about right.
Yeah.
10's about right.
Because then the bag is kind of thin, so they stay frozen a long time. And you can take 2 bags with you. And if you don't use them all up, you didn't waste a bunch.
Right.
But if you
And
put 25 in a bag and you take 2 bags and you don't use them, but no, I think like you said, 10 in a bag, you can take 2 bags with you. Each
sure.
one of if they're big, if they're the big ones, you can get 2
Yeah, the
big
6,
size ones
7.
at least.
Yeah.
Sometimes
6, 7.
3.
Yeah, 6, 7 inch baits. You can, and if it's wintertime fishing, then you can probably get 6 chunks out of it
That's
because
right.
you're going to throw smaller pieces for those smaller reds. Now, I had a guy at the gas station about, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 months ago. He recognized me. He goes, "Hey, you Captain George?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh man, how you been?" I'm like, "Good." He goes, "If you're interested in them," he goes, I always order my meats online, and they come in these foam things with these really good sized square gel packs." He goes, "To keep the meat good." He goes, "I probably have 10 or 15 of them, and they're just taking up too much space. Would you want them? I'll give them to you." So he gave me like at least a dozen of these things, and they're about a foot wide and maybe 15 inches long and about 2 inches thick, and they're gel packs. So those are great because when I do bring the frozen bait, I lay one of those on top of it, and it keeps them good.
Okay.
And those things last forever. I'll give you some if you want some.
Yeah, I could use a couple because I've got this small igloo cooler, a real small one that, it's perfect for that because it holds the temperature. It's not one of those 7-day deals, but
Right,
for a
right.
day with a gel pack like that, you can keep plenty of frozen bait, frozen all day.
And I know they're gel pack. I mean, they're really the plastic that's on them is really thick. You know, it's a really good material. But I did have one pop a hole in it, and I didn't realize it, and the stuff was coming out, and I was like, yep, that's jelly in there.
Oh,
And I mean, it lasts a long time. It really
that's
did.
what you want. And you
But,
see what Donald says? It was out Saturday, Mobley Bay, Bayou, and all you
Yeah.
got was catfish and a ladyfish.
But you weren't skunked.
That's right.
You're not skunked.
That's the positive side of it.
Yep, you're
You
not
caught
skunked.
something.
And then we got Brian saying saw tons of big threadfins all the way up to the Well, and you know what else
All
is
the way
all
up
the
to
way
the
up?
CCC. Where's that?
Yep. Courtney Campbell.
Oh, okay, Courtney
And,
Campbell. Okay, yeah.
And yeah, and you know what else is up there? Because they follow the threadfins is the tarpon. There's
Yep.
tarpon throughout the bay right now, and all different sizes. So, you know, if you want to tarpon fish right now, it'd be a good time. They're on the beaches, they're at the bridges, they're on some of the reefs. So, and you know, because there's so many threadfin right now, what's nice is you can get a big cooler, throw your cast net a few times, and really load that cooler up. And if you go out to like one of the reefs or the bridges, anchor up or spot lock, and then you start cutting chunks of threadfin and just drop it right next to the side of your boat.
You'll get the tarpon to show up.
Let the current take it back behind your boat, especially if you're in front of like a nice reef pile, or the bridge pylons, either way. And that current will take it. And trust me, you might even start seeing some fins behind your boat of the tarpon swimming. And then you just I'll use 50-pound braid. Usually, it depends. I used to use 80-pound, but they've gotten smart. So like a 60-pound leader, you might have to go down to 50 if you're not getting the hits. If you're seeing the fish, they're eating your chum, you got to drop down. I'd rather use 40 and get a hit than sit there and watch the fish swim around your boat.
Well, you know, last week in Boca Grande, that's what Jeff had to do. He was using 80-pound leader.
Yeah.
And he had a 6-7 foot 80-pound. Then he added about 2 feet of 50.
Yeah.
Just a short piece.
Yep.
Because they were leader shy on the pass.
They get finicky. Now, if you like the magic number is about 14 feet, 15 feet of water on the edges of the sand, and we call it edge fishing. If you actually anchor up and you start throwing out, like I used to use I can't think of the name of them right now. What's the other bait fish? The large ones that you use for
the cobia?
No, for first tarpon. I can't shad.
Oh, shad. Oh, okay.
The shad fishing. If you're fishing on the bottom with shad, about 15 feet of water, 14, 15 feet of water is the magic number. Excuse me. That's about where
Don't start.
You started first today.
I didn't do it. I didn't yawn today.
You did.
You did.
I seen you.
No, I didn't do it.
Yeah, you're doing it again. But so if you anchor up there, they will run that depth along the beaches a lot of times. So instead, you don't want to chase them. You want to let the fish come to you. So you anchor up in an area like that, and you put out a lot of chunks, and you keep chunking nice sized pieces out there. The scent, tarpon have really good nostrils. They can smell that shad down there on the bottom. And if the current's not running fast at all, just free line it, let your bait sink to the bottom. If it is, use about 1.5 ounces lead. Maybe put it on there with a little bit of I used to use a little copper wire just to hold it on there, just to hold it to the bottom. That way, when the fish picks it up, that lead will pop off, and then you just got a line going to the fish. But they really are. They're bottom feeders. They're top feeders. They'll eat crabs. They'll eat live bait. They'll eat stuff on the bottom. But if I'm fishing on the bottom, at that point, I'll go all the way up to a 125-pound leader, because your leader is laying on the bottom. It's not in the column of water where they can see it.
Right.
It doesn't bother them as much. So you can run 100 to 125-pound leader if you're bottom fishing for them, and then you got more of an advantage, because that way when you get the thump and the hit, and you set the hook 2 or 3 times, get the good hook set into them, you got way more better chance of catching that fish with 100 to 125-pound leader on.
You know what? I'm going to try to find it. Maybe somebody that's watching the show will. When I was down there, there's a guy in Boca Grande that's making the 7/0 circle hooks, but he puts a 1/4 ounce lead, almost like a bass or a jig hook
on the
shank.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, a lot of the people down there using it, and there's a guy making them down there. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Well,
Because we were fishing with a past crab,
right.
and that's the way we use. We use a 7/0 with a 1/4 ounce lid on the shank. Built, it was put on there.
Right. I know a lot of times years ago, I don't know if you remember Tommy Z.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he used to fish a lot for tarpon, and a lot of times if the current was moving too fast with the crabs, um, he would put one of those monster split shots right above the hook on the line, and that was one of the things he used to not want people to know about back then because that was one of his tricks. I love when you can get away with nothing on it, where it's just light, there's no weight there. I like when you can do that, and a lot of times drifting by Egmont. Oh, I'll do it again.
All right, don't start.
Drifting by Egmont, I would love free line as much as possible, and we would use the crabs and threadfin out there, and it would work really well. You really want to get lined up on the tide line, and that's where your quantity of fish will be.
Now, here's something else. Here's the funny thing. I hadn't been to Boca Grande past tarpon fishing 6, 7, 8 years. I was amazed. There weren't very many boats. Let's see, was it Wednesday and the morning tide? I counted. There was 8 boats and our boat 9.
Wow, that's unusual.
And then Thursday, I counted about 22 boats total, 21 in ours. And I didn't see, well, Jeff was there, Jeff Hagman. We were fishing with him. Dave Marquette was there.
Right.
Mike Manning was there.
Was Dave Dennison?
I didn't see Dave Dennison. I didn't see most of the local guys here that I know. They were
Right.
not on the pass.
Huh.
And there was
Maybe they were beach.
And there was just enough breeze and something was wrong with the water that we tried the beach fishing.
Mm-hmm.
We saw one tarpon here, one there, not much. I mean, I think we hooked 5 tarpon or 6 tarpon, landed 2. And I had one on for almost 15, 20 minutes, a good size one. And all of a sudden, just spit the hook out, just spit it out. Didn't cut me off, nothing. But that was a funny thing. I looked around, and the next day was the same group: Dave Marquette, Mike Manning. Right. But I didn't see a lot of the guys that normally I would see down there, or that I saw down there 5, 6 years ago from the Tampa area. So I don't know if they're somewhere else, and they're not coming to Boca Grande.
Right.
Now,
right.
I one of the things that I heard from some of the captains was that their business is down because a lot of the people that come from up north, because of these 2 hurricanes,
they think it's not working down there.
And there's not as many places to stay, of course.
Right.
And one thing I can tell you, they've really, on Pine Island, they've really jacked up the food pricing. You go out to eat at night.
Right.
And it isn't cheap. I mean, just a plain old hole in the wall place that,
right.
figure $10, $12 for a meal. I mean, they're going to hit you for $18 to $30 to $35 a person.
They're trying to make up for lost business, I think.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's hurting them. Because I mean, and there wasn't a lot of tourism. Of course, this is not the time of the year for tourists like on Pine Island, but still. Now,
I'm looking at the comments, and Jim Pace said he had a great week fishing this week. He said his son got a legit inshore Grand Slam. Yeah, I can't stand that they changed that. It used to be you had a slam, which was a snook, trout, and redfish, and then the Grand Slam was a tarpon added onto it.
Right.
Where now, I think because of promotional purposes, all these tournaments are calling it a Grand Slam tournament because it just sounds really good and it sells more, and it's not really a Grand Slam. A Grand Slam is 4 fish, not 3.
It's a regular inshore slam. That's all.
Yeah, but they call it a Grand Slam tournament. But congratulations on that. I'm glad your kid got that. And then